Alright, in today's video, I'm going to walk you through this very common requirement that we often face while we create bubble projects. The sidebar layout is one of the most common ways in which we want to help users navigate through your application, and that will be the focus of this tutorial. Let me just show you the final output before I walk you through the steps about this approach to creating sidebar layouts. There are a couple of them. After trying out various options, this is the one that I found most flexible and performant and aesthetically good. So let's look at what the output is going to be looking like. So first, this is the layout that we want to create. When we click on the hamburger bars, we want the sidebar to collapse. When we click on it, we want it to show up. Let's look at the responsive mode, which is the reason that we wanted to do this. We want this layout to be set up this way. When you load the application from scratch, I think I did a mistake here. Okay. Yep. Let me actually finish this. I left this for the later for doing it at the end, but let's just do it right now. So when current page width is less than, I like less than or equal to most of the time, so 768. I want to set the state. I want to basically hide it. So no, and I'll just copy this because this is effectively the same action, which we'll walk through in a bit. Okay, so you can actually ignore all of this so far, and let's just look at the layout again. I hope it's saved. So when P68 show no pixels, yep, that's correct. Okay, there you go. All right, so by default on a mobile device, we do not want to show the sidebar. We want to show the main content. When we click it, we want to see the sidebar, navigate to whatever we want, close it back, and we should be ready. All right, and this is the approach. This is what we want to create. And now let me walk you through the way I've set it up. Let me revert this back to a normal mode, a desktop mode. Let me set it up for, all right, let's just ignore that. Okay, for whatever. Okay, so let's just, this is the normal desktop mode. I've got a large screen. This looks very big on my large screen, but it works. All right, so you can see actually when it loads on the large screen, since it's greater than 768 pixels, the sidebar still continues to show up, which is what we wanted. Now let's look at the way I set it up. So first, on the page, I've set up the page. I've given a color just to maintain distinction between each of these containers, and the layout is aligned to parent. And the aligned to parent layout gives us flexibility to align the containers with a lot of very flexibly, and maintain the layouts. Also, let me actually spend some time, mentioning a couple of plugins which are essential for this. I need a bit of, I've used a couple of CSS and HTML hacks for this. And for CSS, you need the Classify plugin. It's a very simple plugin, just adds a plugin element, a class to any element you want. And then we've got the toolbox, which basically helps in running JavaScript, and helps us to run JavaScript on the page events. Ideally, this should be a bubble plugin, but for whatever reason, this gentleman called Misha did a very good job of getting this published for free, and it's a beautiful plugin. So now let's go ahead. So first we have the page. I've set the page to a minimum width of 1080, a width in the builder of 1080. It's a flexbox layout, so it's going to take all the space available on the screen. We've given a minimum height just to give us space for playing on the editor, and that's basically the setup for the page. Next, we've got a container. A container, I like to, for those of you with Bootstrap background, I like to set up the containers in a way that are intuitive. I put a container on the page first, then I put a container for the sidebar. I put a container for the content here, which is effectively this is the sidebar, this is the main content. In the content, I kind of want a main section because the main section is going to hold two sections, which is basically the navbar and the main body. And that's what I've set up here. So let's go one by one. So first the container. The container is, let's look at the settings. I think it's called the nonce or something. It basically, hugs the topmost left side of the screen. Again, in the minimum width of 1080 so that it looks right on this editor. It's again, it's going to expand to the size of the overall page, like taking advantage of Flexbox features. I want to give it a minimum height of 100%, so that it goes all the way through the screen, and that's about the main container. In the main container, we've got the sidebar. The sidebar is going to align to the parent. The main container is going to have a row layout because we want the sidebar and the main content to be fitting onto a row, right? And here for container, let me actually go over. I've given it a class of container, and we'll come to and basically what this does is it adds a container class to this div, which I'll show you in a bit. Next, this is the sidebar. A sidebar is it is since it's the row layout, we've got the content sidebar on the left hand side and the content on the right hand side. We want the sidebar to be fixed. I've given a maximum width of 300, a minimum height of 100 because we want it all the way. It's aligned to parent, nothing fixed here, and for maintaining the contrast, I've used a nice bright yellow for the sidebar. Coming to the content as you can see is not visible here, but content has two groups, or one group called the main, which in turn has two groups called nav and body. Let's go through content first. The content, now we want the flexibility again after the row layout has been accomplished. For the content group, we are going to have it using a align to parent container layout. Minimum height of 100 again, maximum height of 100, that's good. Let's go to main. In the content, you've got the main, right? Again, the main is basically basically a nested a group container below the content group, which is going to have two sections called nav and body. So the main is actually going to follow column layout because we want the navbar to be at the top and we want the body at the bottom, and we want the body to stretch through the entire container. So the main is going to be a column layout, and then we've dropped in the let's actually go through the main. Have I missed anything? Minimum height is going to be 100%. Again, it hugs the top left of the content, and I've given it a nice bright dark blue. All right, and I think it's different from the page. The page was it was a different shade of blue. All right, now we've got the navbar. Navbar is the main bar. In the navbar, we've given it a flat surface. We've given it a align to parent container layout. Minimum width of 280. Actually, this shouldn't matter. Let me remove this. Yeah, and a minimum height of 50. We're going to make it fit height to content, and actually I can make this. Height 50 pixels. I think that should be good. Yeah, let's just do that. All right, and when we do that, let's actually go through this. Yep, and there you go. All right, this still works. Okay, so that's about the navbar. Now the navbar, very simple. I just added two elements, one for my logo, one for my icon bars. But and let me actually finish this. So the navbar has been set up, and below the navbar, I've dragged the body. The body is the container below. Give it a nice bright color. It follows the column. Layout, right? And that's the reason it's popped up below. Maximum height of 100%. And that's it. Okay. Now to get the transition effect, this is where the trick comes in. On the sidebar, I've added a state called show. And show has yes or no. Default is yes because we want the sidebar to show by default. And then for the animations, I've created a HTML element right at the top, again with fixed height of 0, fit with the content checked off, minimum is 0. So that takes the entire space. Is basically an element that has a height of 0 and taking the full space available. And here's the code inside it. So we want the container to have a flex box display. Overflow should be hidden. And the sidebar, it takes a width of 300 pixels and it has a background color of red. We can actually get rid of this one. This is not required. And we have certain transition functions here. All right. And this basically expands the sidebar very smoothly over 300 milliseconds to the full width of the sidebar. All right. And while we do that, and here the layout, actually the sidebar layout, we don't have collapse with it. Okay, this is the fun part of it. Now, on the hamburger, I've set up a couple of workflows. By default, when the sidebar is yes, and when you click on the sidebar, we turn off sidebar state to no, and then we run this JavaScript, which effectively sets the sidebar width to 0 pixels. And that's what's happening here. And the reverse happens here when the sidebar is no. So effectively, if we clicked it, we set the sidebar to yes and run the JavaScript to set it to 300 pixels. On the page load, if it's less than 768, we don't want to show it. So we trigger these elements explicitly just on page load. And that's what's happening here. Beautiful sidebar layout, nice layout. And in the next upcoming videos, we'll try and play around with reusables and let's see how that goes.